Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top stories, since 2000, the Danish Emergency Management Agency, or DEMA, has been providing specialist equipment and personnel to help in international catastrophes through Denmark's Ministry of Defense as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Today, one of DEMA's heads landed in the territory to continue to coordinate and partner with the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency in relief efforts to assist in the USVI. Here's more.
The Danish Emergency Management Agency is continuing its work to assist the Virgin Islands in recovery from Hurricanes Irma and Maria. New team members are in the territory to replenish DEMA specialists that have been on the ground repairing schools and elderly nursing homes both on St. Croix and on St. Thomas. The Virgin Islands is still observing the centennial of the 1917 transfer of the Danish West Indies to the United States. And at official ceremonial activities, the Prime Minister of Denmark expressed that Denmark wished to strengthen its ties with the Virgin Islands and observe the history between both places.
This feeling, as you call it, is very, very strong in Denmark, in the public as a whole, and especially in the government. When we saw the terrible things happening here, and I want, of course, to convey my condolences as well, the government immediately thought we needed to take action if we could assist FEMA in any way. And luckily it turned out that we could.
As a result of school facilities being closed, the Department of Education has been conducting classes on double session. DEMA has assisted in the repair and functionality of some of the schools that are being utilized and pledged to continue with other projects.
13 finished projects on sites, and we are now processing 4 more projects at this moment. And the projects I hear is they're piling up, so we'll be staying here until Christmas time.
Eric, the team leader of the delegation, has been working hard to be as effective as possible with a small but skillful group.
Yesterday finished the Nature Conservancy here at Christiansted, and we are now working at 2 shelters, shelters for homeless and a shelter for a women's shelter.
For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
And Count on 2 will keep you updated. Meanwhile, FEMA wants to remind you of some deadlines and some more information that you should keep on hand. Now, survivors can register for FEMA assistance by calling 1-800-621-3362 or by going online to www.disasterassistance.gov. Now, some dates for you to keep in mind. FEMA registration deadline for Hurricanes Irma and Maria extended to December 18th. Army Corps right of entry form collection deadline, that's Friday, November 3rd. And then the Disaster Unemployment Assistance, DUA, that's available to survivors who lost jobs as a result of Hurricane Maria. The DUA application deadline for Hurricane Maria is November 7th. Now, Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter, in his capacity as Virgin Islands Commissioner of Insurance, announces that every Thursday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m., a staff member from the Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation will be at FEMA's Disaster Recovery Center on St. Thomas at Tutu Park Mall and the Disaster Recovery Center on St. Croix in Frederiksted at Rotary West. Lieutenant Governor Potter says the purpose of having a Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation staff member at these 2 key locations is to assist consumers who have a homeowner's insurance policy, yet may still not be able to come into the division's offices for assistance. Lieutenant Governor encourages home insurance policyholders to visit the specific FEMA disaster recovery centers, or you can go directly to the Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation on St. Thomas. It's at Niski Center. On St. Croix, it's at the Office of the Lieutenant Governor on King Street. Well, did you know that FEMA may provide childcare assistance to address disaster-caused childcare expenses for eligible households? Well, this is some information from you. The Sandy Recovery Improvement Act of 2013 provides FEMA the specific authority to award the childcare assistance through the Other Needs provision of the Individuals and Households program to assist disaster survivors who have a disaster caused financial burden for childcare. Children aged 13 and under and or children aged 14 up to 18 with a disability as defined by federal law who need assistance caring for themselves. Child care assistance is a form of financial assistance and funds are paid directly to eligible applicants. FEMA will award a one-time payment for the household's increased financial burden for up to 8 cumulative weeks of child care, plus any eligible expenses or the maximum amount of assistance for child care. Assistance, whichever is less, the amount of child care assistance is established by the state, territorial, or government. Now, conditions of eligibility require documentation, and there are limitations and exclusions, such as FEMA will not provide assistance for any of these following: fees for extracurricular activities and additional services like school photographs, field trips, and more. Optional fees that do not alter the day-to-day care services provided to the child. Fuel expenses related to transporting the child to and from the child care provider. Education services, including the after-school tutoring, medical care or services, or recreational camps or clubs. You can call them for more information. The U.S. Small Business Administration, who has been partnering with FEMA, they announced the opening, as we shared yesterday, the new opening of a business recovery center on St. Thomas, and it's to help businesses impacted by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Representatives at the center can provide information about the loans, answer questions, and assist businesses in completing the SBA application. Now, this new center is opened at Niski Center in Suite 720 on St. Thomas. It's opened from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and it's closed on Sunday. Here's more.
There's some confusion at times when people hear the name of our agency is the Small Business Administration, primarily because they think, I'm not a small business, how could this possibly help me? The fact of the matter is that in the aftermath of a disaster or two disasters here like Irma and Maria, SBA partners with FEMA to provide long-term recovery assistance to, of course, to small businesses, as you would expect, but also, maybe unexpectedly, to homeowners, renters, and most private nonprofits. So what the viewers, what I would like to tell the viewers is that when you register with FEMA, you may very well be referred to SBA, and it's kind of important for you to pay attention to that and to complete and return the application in order to keep the process of federal assistance moving forward. If you are referred and you get an application and you don't return it, that's the end of the story right there. Nothing further is going to come your way from the federal assistance to help you recover. What the SBA offers, it is basically affordable, long-term, low-interest loans to get the money in your hands to do the repairs to the damage that happened during the hurricanes.
Now, the filing deadline to submit applications for physical property is December 18th, 2017 for Hurricanes Irma and Maria. The deadline for economic injury applications is June 7th, 2018 for Hurricanes Irma and June 20th, 2018 for Hurricane Maria. Well, we shared this, and just a reminder, the Seabourn Odyssey pulls into port at the Waco dock. It's a cruise ship for Seabourn Cruise Line, and the capacity is 450 passengers, crew 335. They will be in dock on Friday at the Waco dock. And then on Sunday, the Viking Sea will be making her maiden voyage also at the Waco dock. Capacity 930 passengers, crew of 550. And according to the Virgin Islands Port Authority cruise ship schedule, November 5th, on Sunday, the Summit Cruise Line will visit St. Croix. And then on Sunday, November 19th, Summit Cruise again will make its port there on St. Croix. Monday, November 27th, the Jewel of the Seas is scheduled for St. Croix. And then the following day on Tuesday, the 28th, November the 28th, the Serenade of the Seas will visit both St. Croix and St. Thomas. Turning to the courts, Jamal Haynes, 39, of Tallahassee, Florida, pleaded guilty in district court on Monday to 2 different conspiracies to possess cocaine with intent to distribute, and that report came from the court. District Court Judge Curtis Gomez remanded Haynes to the custody of the U.S. Marshals pending his sentencing on March 1st, 2018. According to the plea agreement filed, Haynes was a member of a drug trafficking organization from 2011 to 2016. While he was involved in the organization, Haynes conspired with others to ship cocaine from St. Thomas to Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Florida via the Cyril E. King Airport. For each smuggling operation, co-defendant Makimba Barry traveled from Miami to St. Thomas to pick up 10 or more kilograms of cocaine and deliver it to Neil Chesterfield, and Chesterfield, a law enforcement officer, would then smuggle the cocaine through the King Airport using his law enforcement credentials to bypass customs and TSA inspection. Chesterfield would then travel to Fort Lauderdale on board Spirit Airlines, and once the cocaine arrived on the mainland, Haynes and his co-conspirators were responsible for distributing the cocaine in locations throughout Florida and Georgia as well, Alabama and Mississippi at a cost of approximately $33,000 per kilogram. Haynes also pleaded guilty on Monday to second conspiracy involving a drug trafficking organization led by Nilda Morton. Haynes faces a term of imprisonment of not less than 10 years and not more than life, and a fine of up to $10 million. Gregory Williams, 34, of St. Thomas, made his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Ruth Miller after being charged as a felon in possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. At the detention hearing, Judge Miller found probable cause for the charges and detained Williams pending trial. According to the complaint, Williams had an altercation with his girlfriend, resulting in his arrest on local charges of domestic violence. While on release, Williams intimidated and threatened the victim, who reported the harassment to the VIPD. The criminal complaint states that when VIPD located Williams in the area of General Gata, he fled to avoid capture and in the process tossed the firearm. VIPD recovered the firearm and found the serial number had been removed. Now, he is a convicted felon and not authorized to possess a firearm. Possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number is a violation of federal law. Stephen Lewis, 57, of St. Thomas, pleaded guilty Tuesday in federal court to 1 count of aiding and abetting and harboring of illegal aliens. According to the agreement filed with the court, Lewis admitted that from about December 2015 until January 2016, he aided and abetted others in transporting and harboring at least 4 Indian nationals who entered St. Thomas illegally from the BVI. Lewis illegally transported the Indian nationals and hid them in a residence on St. Thomas. He sought to benefit financially from his illegal activities. He faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, a 3-year term of supervised release, and a $25,000 fine. Well, on Wednesday, November 1st, officers responded to a stabbing victim at the Schneider Regional Medical Center. Police found a black male victim who sustained a single stab wound to his left thigh. The victim stated that he intervened in an altercation between several co-workers and was stabbed in the process. Anyone having information about this crime, you're urged to contact the VIPD at 774-2211 or the Criminal Investigation Bureau. The number is right there. You can also contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the numbers. We can see the Dow up 81, NASDAQ down, S&P 500 up. Coming up on News 2, the St. Thomas Reformed Church gives back. We'll have information on the distribution of some care packages. That's coming up next. Post-hurricane restoration efforts of the DPW included removal of 130,000 cubic yards of debris on St. Croix, while partnering with the Army Corps of Engineers for the debris removal of 50,000 cubic yards in the St. Thomas-St. John district. So far, Rumina Construction removed about 5,000 cubic yards of debris on Water Island, and that's according to Nelson Petty, who's the commissioner nominee of DPW. The Committee of Housing, Public Works, Waste Management, and Planning, that's chaired by Senator Marvin Blyden, they held a meeting at the Capitol building on Thursday to receive testimony from the Department of Public Works, DPW, on the status post-Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria. On the St. Thomas-St. John district, the Army Corps of Engineers are also responsible for guts maintenance and roadside cleaning, and DPW is working on that on St. Croix. The update on traffic lights include the need to reinstall a traffic light system that meets storm requirements. Despite the damage to traffic lights system at major intersections, some traffic lights are operational. And that's according to the report at the Senate. In addition to the DPW update, policymakers also considered Bill number 32-0008 as it relates to mooring and anchoring fees to provide for fee reductions for senior citizens and persons with disability and veterans. Senators voted to hold that bill in committee. Now, here's the latest restoration update from the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority.
On St. Croix, restoration and reconstruction work continued in the Scion Farm area, where additional poles were planted on Wednesday. Primary circuits in Barron Spot, as well as some residents in Hannah's Rest, will be energized by the end of the week. Crews worked on sections of feeders 2A, 4A, and 6B, with Hotel on the Quay and Company House Hotel and feeder 1A expected to be restored on Wednesday night. Crews continue to troubleshoot issues around the water gut community that have prevented full restoration of that housing community. On St. Thomas, crews energized commercial and residential customers in Estates Tutu and Anna's Retreat, as well as Estate Thomas on Wednesday. Primary circuits on feeders 7A and 8A from the Harley Power Plant to Niski Shopping Center were energized. Crews worked on feeder 6A near Fortuna and on the St. Peter Mountain Road, as well as in Wintberg and Mandal. On St. John, Keneal Bay Resort was restored on Wednesday, and work continues to restore additional primary circuits on both feeders 7E and 9E. Crews also are working on the roadway leading to the Westin Resort. Traffic flow will be affected across the territory on Thursday as the restoration work continues. On St. Thomas, crews will work in the Frenchman's Bay area, as well as Wintberg, Mandal, Tutu, Four Winds, Estate Thomas, Friedenhoy, Red Hook, and on St. Peter Mountain Road. On St. John, crews will work on the road toward the Westin Resort, as well as on feeders 7E and 9E. On St. Croix, work expected to continue in Estate Strawberry toward Barron Spot, Estate Ruby, Hannah's Rest, Christiansted, and Frederickstead towns. Motorists are advised to adhere to the directions of flaggers, military police, and VIPD officers who are assisting with traffic control. Additionally, motorists are encouraged to use alternate routes and avoid the work areas where possible. All electrical problems must be reported to the WAPA emergency call centers to be properly documented and tracked. The emergency call centers operate 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days per week. On St. Thomas, St. John, 774-1424, and on St. Croix, 773-0150.
Thanks for that, John. Well, on Monday and today, a National Guard medical team from Pennsylvania, they provided care in collaboration with the Department of Health. They visited some communities on St. Thomas to provide medical aid to adults who need to get to the doctor but are unable to. Individuals with chronic diseases, hypertension, high cholesterol, allergies, breathing problems, and more. They received the care they needed at Bordeaux and at Anna's Retreat today. Here's more.
We're actually working with the Department of Health and identifying spots where medical care is needed in terms of providing that accessible care to various sites throughout the islands. We're actually out here for the day, and we've been down in the Virgin Islands since October 13th. One is required to register through the Department of Health to facilitate easy guidance as the patient comes to this facility, so we know what potentially we're looking at for treatment conditions. Right now we're providing, in terms of chronic illnesses, in terms of diabetes, hypertension, we're providing medications to those facilities through partnership with Schneider Hospital and through the Department of Health of the Virgin Islands. And we're also giving them somewhat emotional support as they've been traumatized over the past 1 to 2 months of experiencing 2 Category 5 hurricanes. Just keep coming out and keep contacting the Department of Health. We're here to help. All of my soldiers are here to provide as much accessible care to the residents of the Virgin Islands.
Well, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, they have activated the Emergency Prescription Assistance Program, or EPAP. And that's to help residents of the USVI get medicine, medical supplies, medical equipment, and vaccines. Now, following a disaster, DOH says EPAP will help recoup losses. The service is available at no cost. Prescriptions may be renewed every 30 days for as long as the EPAP is active. You can call the number right there, 855-0793-7470 for more information on how to enroll, verify eligibility, locate the nearest pharmacy, and to provide medical information to the pharmacist as well. Over 400 boxes were distributed just yesterday alone, but they have been doing this for a while. The St. Thomas Reformed Church and a mobile team of volunteers were out distributing to affected areas. My Brother's Workshop, they have been serving as well. Now, they have been giving out care packages and feeding many during these difficult times. We heard from the pastor of the church.
We're just down here doing another distribution, have been doing that since Hurricane Irma, and took a break after, of course, Maria came, and taking supplies that people have given, donated, and we're distributing them to really anybody who can come here. The numbers keep rising up. We're doing our best to handle the requests that we have, and people have been very generous in donating, and so we're just able to pass on the blessing to those who have need. And of course, everyone knows there's a great need still, people putting their lives back together. And so every Wednesday and Saturday, we are distributing boxes of supplies, and then we're next door to My Brother's Workshop Cafe, and they've been cooking wonderful lunches, as a lot of people know, every day since the hurricane as well. So they'll continue to do that. We're sort of ramping things down the end of the week, and we'll distribute through next week, move stuff back down to the Salvation Army. They've been helping us out as well and helping with the supply chain. And we'll continue to distribute as long as there's a need and as long as we have supplies to distribute. Not only here for people who can get here, but out in other locations. Just as a lot of people have been doing. We're just trying to meet the need where it's at. We've had a lot of volunteers come down. I mean, we're pretty well set in that department, but if anybody wants to stop by, we'll certainly put them to work. And especially in the weeks to come, as we need help, transporting things, people with trucks to go to the supply areas, and helping to pack supplies and then taking them out. We'll send crews out to different areas that need it. So sure.
Good job. Thanks for that, Pastor. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
Good evening. Hopefully you had a nice day here today. The weather was certainly gorgeous, and it's going to stay like this for at least another couple of days. We are going to see changes at the end of this weekend into the beginning of next week. We could see some downpours at times, but for now, enjoy what we have because it is nice. We are seeing very little clouds across the islands. Taking a closer look, lots of sunshine out there, and we certainly are not seeing any precipitation. We can never rule out, of course, a very brief trade wind shower in place places, but for the most part, it's staying nice and dry. Tonight, 76 degrees for our overnight low with a moonlit sky, so gorgeous conditions to head outside, maybe take a stroll on the beach. Tomorrow in St. John, 86 degrees, mostly sunny. St. Thomas, 86, mostly sunny. And in St. Croix, 87 degrees. And again, it's going to be sunny and nice. Taking a look at our Atlantic marine forecast, not bad. We don't have any advisories to tell you about. Waves 2 to 4 feet, winds out of the east at 10 knots. So if you're going to be swimming or fishing, snorkeling perhaps, should be pretty nice out there for you. Just be careful. As always, the Caribbean side 2 to 4 feet for our waves, winds out of the east at 5 to 10 knots. Now, taking a look at the extended forecast, we are going to see some changes. So Friday and Saturday were nice, 85 degrees. On Sunday, a shower or two. That's mainly going to be in the evening time. And then Monday through Wednesday, we are going to see brief showers, and at times we could see downpours here in the Virgin Islands, also in Puerto Rico. So really Sunday evening through Wednesday, it is certainly going to be a more wet pattern. You will certainly need to put on your rain gear before you head outside of the house. Temperatures staying warm though all week long in the mid to upper 80s. Back to you.
Thank you. Stroll on the beach sounds nice. Moonlight. Thank you for that. Aaliyah George sends in this picture of the Great Minds Summer Learning Academy that includes some sunshine and nice puffy white clouds. Aaliyah, thank you for that. Send us your News 2 weather picture to the address on the screen, and be sure to tune in to see it right here on News 2 because you never know when your picture is going to run. Stick around. We have much more straight ahead. News 2 Sports comes your way next.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. With apologies to Dan Fogarty, look at me, I can be center field. Yeah, I said that. Here's the Houston Astros center fielder George Springer, World Series MVP, as the Astros win Game 7 5-1 and collect their first World Series title in their 56-year history. At Dodger Stadium, first inning, Springer begins the game with a double off Dodger hired gun Hugh Darvish, who did not have a good series. He would score the game's first run on a throwing error by Dodgers first baseman Cody Bellinger. It was already 3-0 in the top of the second when Springer crushed a 1-2 fastball 438 feet for a 2-run homer and a 5-0 Astros lead. Springer finished the series with a record-tying 5 homers, a .379 batting average, 8 runs, and 7 RBIs. The Dodgers would have a chance to get back in the game in the bottom of the second inning. 2 on, 1 out. But Chris Taylor lines into an inning-ending double play. L.A. would leave 11 men on base for the game, never being able to get that big hit. Bottom 9, Astros up 5-1. Charlie Morton works a 1-2-3 ninth. Corey Seager with the grounder to second, and the Astros are on top of the baseball world.
I mean, it's everything I could ever imagine. This is no words, man. This is unbelievable. I'm so glad to be a part of this. You know, this is, on that night I said yes. This is what I envisioned.
That's it for sports. Congratulations, Houston Astros and Houston Astro fans. You earned it and you deserve it. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that, Gary. That is all for this edition of News 2. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest news, weather, and sports. I'm Sandra Guman saying on behalf of all of us here, have a wonderful evening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you next time.